Yo, what's up, amigos? So this video, I'm gonna talk about VVUS. Um, as you can see, I was swing short. I think I posted on Twitter. I don't do live alerts and things like that. I never even wanna alert my plays that I'm in, and it has nothing to do with quote unquote hiding the plays or all of that. I much rather make things or share things after so that you guys can learn from it. I can learn from explaining and reiterating my thought process. I went a very good size on UVXY, and this is the equity from 2 days ago. These are the calls that I shorted. This is a $5 call, 130.80. It's 1 cent. And I shorted the living, let's just say the living out of UVXY calls. Every single pop, I just kept adding. But proper entries, proper pops, as you can see. Got lucky. They filled. I was sitting there. Anybody that wanted to buy FOMO. And yeah, now it's at 1 cent. So quite a bit of calls and equity. So so this video I'm going to talk about that, why I swung short, and I may also talk about SGBX on the day before yesterday. I went SGBX long, why I went long. This is the day before, depending on when you guys watch it, so it's like the day before yesterday. So I was long SGBX, I was long APT, and I was short VVUS. And a lot of people in the comment were asking why. There was fundamental reasons behind it, and yeah, I'll go into that. So there was a fundamental thought process why I was long SGBX, and no, it wasn't because it's a good company. So that's what the video is going to be about. Please click subscribe and like, and most important of all, share it with somebody that it may help. And yeah, so getting right into it. Let's start with the fundamentals. So VVUS had an ATM, a relatively fresh ATM. At that day, the thought process was that they would use the ATM, and at that point, I didn't think they would do an offering because with the ATM, if the ATM was used up, they didn't have much room to do an offering. So that was the thought process, and as we found out that they did an offering, and now they're gonna find out today that they did an offering, and I think they're gonna dump the ATM after. So that's the fundamental reason for VVUS, why I was short. And yeah, and the end of the day projection volume was high, but anytime that happens, it tends to have a really nice wash. Okay, let me see if I did a clear job at explaining. You know what? I could do one better. Here, I'll do one better. There you go, amigos. So VVUS, you go here, BMSCC, 424B5, you read through this. This is an ATM. It's with these guys. And then, of course, you go through 10 Qs, as you can see, 10 Ks, and you read if it has other overheads, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to see, because sometimes I rush it. What else from a fundamental aspect? And then I guess you run through multiple things. Can they do an offering? Do they need a high close? So I run through all those variables in my head. And if you're making notes, it's a bit complicated, but in the way I think about stuff is like, I always constantly think, would they benefit from a high close? Because it's a high, there's going to be float rotation. If the float rotation, if it doesn't squeeze, it tends to have the opposite of squeeze, which is like people fight for exit. So, especially if there's overhead that's being dumped. I remember I had a $2 cover area that I wanted to. And my thought process was, if they done the ATM and there's longs in here, and then there's of course some of the guys that are selling the ATM, they would also build a short position. Just speculations. So yeah, that's what it was. Now let's go into the technicals. I started pre-market, small size, 1/5, shorted here, covered here. And being truthful, I give it a bit more roll when I'm in smaller size, and I don't think I should, because in here I was shorting, what was this, 332 line. Well, so it pushed and it was looking heavy based off the tape. So I was shorting the 330s, and I think I was risking 350s, 352, 50, yeah, 352, something like that. I didn't have a hard stop, but it was smaller size, and I was like, smaller size, and I was like, okay, well, so in here, usually I'm risking like, on a day I'm not supposed to go higher than an 8 or a 10R. That's my mindset. Or so in here I was probably risking like 1R. So I got slippage, and I have to make a mental note that I gotta work on that. So here I stopped out at 365, and then it pushes higher and it starts looking heavy, and I'm like, oh, I top ticked it, but I didn't let that get frustrate me. So I literally top ticked it, and it washes back to my entry. I was like, frick. I was like, whatever. And then I re-shorted 375, added to a winner. In here, I'm still 1/5 size. So then it comes to the near the open. This I might have been less. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait, see how it reacts at the open. At the open, it washes, and then I put my order in near the high because it tends to wick. And then I shorted 435, and I covered into 475. This was a bit into the money, and at this point my risk was 440. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of golden nuggets in this video, so if you have, okay, how do I say this nicely? I'm not an expert, but you should watch this video. There's gonna be some cool nuggets that I wish I had known earlier. So I said some stuff earlier, so this is the other thing. So in here, I had a hard stop. I'm risking above this high. So I shorted for 23, 25. I'm covering into the wash, which seems to be like 360s, 370s. A little bit into the green because I had 1/5 from before. And then I had a hard stop. It stops me out. I don't panic. So here, I took a loss. Took a loss because I think I stopped out at, I think 448. I don't know why. 448 or 450. I had a hard stop. And I'm very happy that I did. Even though, as you guys can see, I like shorted lower, and I just kept adding, full size. I am I am happy and I'm content that I had that, because if I didn't have that hard stop, I wouldn't be able to I would not be able to put on the full size. So what I mean by that is, if I'm shorting 425s, okay, and it washes into 360s, I covered quickly. I think covered half or something. Half, or I don't know what the heck it was, doesn't matter. But the point is, I have a hard stop. And let's put a scenario that I don't have a hard stop. I let it go. One, it can skip on you. And all it takes is that one time for the skip, you freeze up, and then you fuck up. So if you're a slow trader like I am, I'm not a scalper. As you guys can see, thank God, sometimes when I'm in the money, like I risk like 10, 20 cents, 30 cents, and I come out with like $2, $3. Um, but in this case, okay, check this out. The hard stop that made me lose money, for one. The second, I shorted way lower where I stopped out, so that's another negative. For me, this is way, 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 way better. It matches my trading, my personality, because I have a clear mind. Because now here, I'm like, okay, I probably got out all of it, or like 9/10. And then I started shorting right at 438. And as you can see, by every single arrow, there's like 6, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 different entries after. Some of them as low as 375. I just kept going in, going in, going in. I tried to add as much size as I can. I went full size. This here was very profitable, because my head becomes clear. I understand it's the top, and I see the confirmation because it stopped me out. It stopped other people out. It's a liquidity event. It's an ATM. I can see the tape. Everything is there. That's how you see me chase it from frickin' 440s all the way down to 370. Like, imagine consecutively shorting all the way down $1. And it's not even that I'm like waiting every 10 cents. It's like this probably happened within like a minute or two, but I'm like spamming. Short, short, short. I'm spamming I'm entering at the ask. I'm not hitting the bids because I have to pay fees if I take liquidity. So, and I'm content with that, and I got lucky, close to bottom tick. I try not to, but the tape helps. I covered 345s, 350s, and then as it spikes higher, I'm waiting at VWAP, and I started shorting back full size, and I'm risking now 410, 420 is what was my risk was, and now I have an average probably of 410, something like that, or 10, and I've locked I locked a bunch of money in because I went full size. Now I shorted around, I think my average was probably 410, 420, and at this point I'm risking 10, 20 cents, and then I covered into, looks like my first cover after that, I think it was 386, yeah, you can see every single order was 386. I covered everything there. So, go over this if this is helpful, beneficial, what happened here, and there's some cool things that I hope it will help you. And then of course I played it after. So why did I swing it? I swung it because not necessarily the offering. My thought process was that it would that the next day, given the overhead, given the amount of flow rotation, the next day would just slowly fade off. And that is why I shorted the living crap out of the calls. And as you can see by the amount of entries I have, and the I would not recommend shorting calls naked. definitely not recommend. But when I have an edge, I go a bit crazy. So this was, I swung equities and I swung a lot of every single one of the options, and I'm gonna let it expire. If you short naked calls, your losses are unlimited if it squeezes against you. So I shorted the 5 and the 4, and now if I want to cover, I can technically cover at 1 cent. So I made 100% on those calls, because it has to go back to, by next week or so, before next week or before a week and a half, it has to go above 4.5 for me to lose money. And even if it gets there, they're gonna give me shares to short, like they'll put me in a short position. That's less likely. So this was part of the reasons why I took a loss. And I'm gonna cut this video here. Click like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on. And the reason for that is if you write a question within an hour or so, I will respond. I'm gonna make a next video on SGBX. That was a fundamental reason why I went long. It's another golden nugget that I would recommend you guys watch if you want to. So share with somebody share this video with somebody that it may help. So take care, guys.